All right, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family. I know we're a little bit late, but we'd rather be late than never. We're just recently just so excited, man, just to come to you with another Olympian here. This year we got one of the Team USA Olympian, and we're just so excited. He's going to tell you a little bit about how much work. I know we're going to talk about the faith, and we're going to talk about the focus, and we're going to talk about the finish. He will tell you a lot more about all those three things that I talk about. So I have the pleasure of being in the London 2012 Olympics. I was over there with the Cayman Islands as the assistant coach, and but I was over with Team USA every single day. Working with pretty much with Carmelita Jeter every step of the way. I was with her day in day out, making sure that was working also as an agent, so we're just taking care of her and many others. So it was a privilege just to see. So it's just so good to talk about that Olympics because I literally remember everything about that Olympics from start to finish. It's just one of those things where, as an athlete, you've been to the Olympics, but when you get there and you kind of, as a coach, you kind of get to experience a lot more and just able to sit back and take everything in. So I am super excited. We got a lot to talk about. We got the Winter Olympics to talk about, and we still got Tokyo 21 to talk about. So thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Real Talk with Ian and Ian. And before you hear from this Olympian here, we're going to let Mr. Ian Thomas, otherwise known as the Health and Wellness Specialist, say a few words and introduce himself and introduce you to the platform.
All right, guys, as usual, as we come on here, we just know that this platform is just meant for greatness in that we basically bring you people who are able to inspire, motivate, basically uplift somebody with their life story, their life journey. And this afternoon, definitely with our guests here this afternoon, I know you guys are definitely going to be inspired when you hear his story. A man that run with a broken leg to the finish. That I know in itself will inspire you all. So we just ask that you just stay on here and just to listen his story and just to see the faith and the belief that he have in himself and in his team. And for you guys who have been here with us every week, we just want to say welcome again to another episode of Ian and Ian Real Talk. We know it is Valentine's Day. We all could be doing something else, but yet still we show up. We show up tonight. We just want to ask that you guys continue to share in the journey as we continue to bring you people who are able to inspire, motivate, and educate. So this afternoon we have Manteo with us, Michelle, a great Olympian, and we know you're gonna be learning a lot from him. So Manteo, we just want to welcome you to the platform, Ian and Ian Real Talk. As it sounds, man, real talk. We just say it as it is, and you feel free to just be a part of this family. So welcome to the platform. Nice having you.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you guys for having me on. Honor, man, for sure.
All right, all right. So, Mani, we got, as usual, we know that everybody see the story, but they see the whole Olympics, but they don't know how many years and the process and the dream how everything all started. So, as usual, I like to just let everyone know exactly where you're from. I am proud to say, man, you're from one of the best states.
Hey,
In the, in the country, so we just know that North Carolina, man, we're have a lot to offer all the way from the mountain to the beach, to the east to the west. So, with no further words said, Manteo, we just want you to just tell us exactly where in North Carolina you're from and tell us where you grew up, and we're just going to want to hear a little introduction about yourself.
yeah. So first and foremost, again, thanks to both of you for having me on. Definitely an honor and privilege to obviously share your story to anyone who will listen. So it's always a pleasure to be given a platform to do such. So appreciate you guys for that. I'm from a small town in Shelby, North Carolina. It's where I was born and raised. I'm actually there right now, but I actually live in Asheville, North Carolina. And that's where I kind of home base, and that's where I train. That's where my son and I, that's where we live. So, but I've been North Carolina born and bred like all my life. So I've been all over the world, obviously with the sport. But I always get to bring myself back to this place, and that I call that home. So definitely an honor to be from this great state.
All right. The guys, North Carolina, man, we produce a lot. Well, I am, my second home, as everyone know that I'm from Jamaica. But one of the best decisions I've made in my life was to move here in North Carolina. And that's been since 1998. So, I am so glad. I thank God every day for me to give me the courage to say, man, this is the place that I need to, look to the future and see what the world has to me. So, Manteo, just tell us a little bit about your earlier days. Obviously, we know that here in the United States, a lot of athletes do plenty of other sports. I mean, just growing up, what was your first love when it comes down to sports?
Um, it was probably a mix between football and basketball. I played both sports before I even knew what track and field or athletics even was. I really didn't know anything about track and field until maybe middle school, and probably like seventh grade. I ran middle school track, but that was more so to just um, make friends and build friendships and stuff like that, because you go from elementary school to middle school and you start getting these new trends and new people around you and stuff like that. And you're actually around people that are older than you, so you pick up on those things. So, but I started playing football from I think the age of 5, and basketball as well. So I played all those all the way through school. Um, and then when I got to, I want to say my junior year of high school is when I really started to run track, and that was just because in football, our coaches made us run track to stay in shape for football. So I would say junior year is when I was really introduced to the sport, and then senior year is when I actually started taking it serious.
All right, awesome. So we're so glad that your journey into track and field was was so easy. I mean, a lot of times I know for me, I was literally I don't know what to call it, but my high school coach literally cornered me and he said, "Look, Ian, you got to come out to the track." I'm like, man, I don't want to run. I mean, track and running was boring, really.
Yeah.
When you look at it, when you play team sport, it's more entertaining, but just the running, you don't really find that entertainment first, But I'm so glad that I was able to do a sport that I was able to not blame anyone. Usually able to run my own race and be mad at myself or be happy with myself. And I know that track has done that. I know that we ran relays, and we're going to talk about running a relay, because running a relay, you never want to let your teammates down. You
Oh
know,
no.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But we're going to hold on to that a little bit. We're not going to get too far ahead. So just tell us a little bit about some of your accomplishment in high school, just running in the state meet. What were you able to accomplish?
Yeah. So again, I only ran junior and senior year. I believe my junior year I was third in the state in the 400. Um, we won the 4x1, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm pretty positive we won the 4x2, but I'm not really sure. I can't remember. And then
Okay.
my senior year, I know for a fact we won the 4x1 and the 4x2, and I did not run the 400 at states. I ran the 200, and that I believe I was top 5. I know I didn't make
Okay.
podium.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I was, so our state meet was the same day as prom, so I was just trying to
Okay.
get back home.
Well, and one of the reasons like what I like to talk about the high school, because obviously in high school, running in high school, you got to make one of the most important decisions in your life is to choose a college that you're going to go to. And
Right.
plenty of times, you get the opportunity to visit college. Some people know where they want to go from early. Now, how did the decision come for you when it was time for you to choose college? I mean, was that something easily? Did you get a scholarship? What type of schools were interested in you at the time?
For me, just coming from football, I had tons of offers because football, I was really, really good at football. Not to
Okay.
toot my own horn or anything like that, but I was one of the best in the state doing what I was doing. So, but I had an injury my senior year, and unlike it is now, where if you get an injury in high school, but you're still a highly touted recruit, they'll still bring you in and house you and feed you and honor your scholarship and even take care of your surgery if you need that. But back then, it wasn't like that. It was like, okay, we're going to go to the next best person. So the big schools like Alabama, Clemson, Florida, all those schools that were interested in me in football and track, they ended up kind of like sidelining me. So it just so happened to be that for me personally, I have, the books to fall back on as well. So I was a scholarly athlete. So it was always, I was a student athlete. I wasn't just an athlete. So I try to stress that, more than anything, it's so important that these kids realize that, yeah, you may get that free education, but actually take advantage of the educational standpoint, because at the end of the day, you could have an injury or something that sidelines you for whatever time being, and you'd have that degree to fall back on. So even though you're getting it for free, make sure you get something that's attainable and something that you can use. But for me personally, I had that to rely on. So I had schools still interested in me for my books, for my book smart. So it just so happened though for me, the regional track meet was at Western Carolina University, and it was the first time I had ever got on a rubber track because we ran on cement
Uh,
or asphalt.
mhm.
So we went up there, we broke state records in 4x1, 4x2. I won the 200, and it was just a great experience. And I met Danny Williamson, who at the time was the coach there and who still trains me professionally to this day. Um, and he was like, "Hey, I could really use you. We want to change the culture here. I think you'd be a great fit." And he told me, if you come here, I want to make you one of the best athletes that you can be. And that that story that he told me sold me, and I was dedicated to the craft, and then we made some special things happen.
All right, man. It seemed like you got I'm trying to find a word to describe your coach, man. Your coach is more like a father to you, because if he can, he have actually identified your talent from high school, and he have promised you, he actually coach you to making the Olympic team. So that's really big of coach, and actually for him to still coaching today and you still working with him, that shows the dedication and the type of person that you are to this day. So
Oh
we,
yeah, for sure.
yeah. So we definitely want to give a shout out to Coach for probably, I would say that you probably one of the most decorated track and field athlete out of your university. I don't know if there's any other Olympian, and you could correct me if I'm wrong.
Um, I'm pretty sure I'm the first one. But yeah, I would, if I was a betting man, I'd be a safe bet to say I'm the most decorated athlete. Not even just track and field, but it's just in school history. But yeah, I don't really keep up with that stuff. I just try to
Okay.
just keep making
All
it,
right.
just keep making
All right.
history.
All right. All right. All right. Over to you, Ian.
All right, Manteo, as a child growing up, I'm taking you right back into the community. Um, what was your best childhood memory? And at this time, you could also take the time out to shout out a few people from your community who have basically helped in whether just the mentoring or just help in assisting you to get in where you are today.
Yeah. So the first question, hold on, I'm reading this question down here.
That's the boy D Pain.
Hey,
He
that's D
popped up.
Pain. What's good, man? Yeah, I'll answer that in a second. But yeah, definitely in my community, I remember growing up as a kid, and it's a whole lot different than it is right now. I know we're in different times, with the rise of social media and all of that stuff. But when I was growing up, it was just we outside as much possible. We're playing football, we're playing tag, we're playing hide and seek, whatever the case may be. We were outside. So I think the qualities that I have now, the endurance, the always wanting to be a go-getter, all that stuff, I think that was instilled at that age, like just running around with my cousins and friends as opposed to being on video games all the time. I think, just that. And then, of course, doing youth sports. I think youth sports are very good for not only team building and bonding, but just identifying yourself, being able to be amongst people who have like goals as you. And of course, being in team sports, that builds that camaraderie and all the things that you're going to need to propel yourself when you do get to the right age to be able to be successful in a team sport, like in a high school or at a college setting. So I think, more so as a kid, I was raised well, but we got to have fun a lot because our whole street, we called it Mitchell Hill because it's all family. And so we were always outside. Every Sunday we have a kickball tournament. But it's always you had to get the books done first, and then you get to go out and do all that stuff. So, yeah, man, I just credit it to my family. My family is kind of like around me, and that's my grind. That's where I think all that stuff came from to where I kind of carried over to now as a professional athlete in two sports. So yeah.
All right, and anybody in the community want to give a shout out to?
Anybody I want to give a shout out to?
Yeah.
My son. That's like and he can probably hear me right now. That's probably like my biggest achievement. Like I can go win all these medals and go to all these races and PR or get on the ice, set a record, or all that stuff. It doesn't even matter because as long as I'm raising him right, that's my true goal. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of just live like that. So I shout out him and just everybody. I'm a people person. I just try to live my life as best as I can and in hopes of, you know, somebody's watching and they probably want to be like you or be like me or whatever the case is. I just tell them to be the best version of themselves. So if anybody's watching, anybody that supports me, this is a shout out. I appreciate it.
All right. Next question. I know you mentioned football. It seems like you're a lover of football. You're very good at it. As you said, you're the number one basically in the state at that time. But injury, I have something else to say. So probably earlier in your career, did you see yourself being where you are as a track star, or were you looking more into football at that time?
Oh, I was just something to pass the time. Honestly, I never would have imagined that I would be, a professional athlete in this sport at that age. Even in high school, I was like, I was interested in it, but it wasn't like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go to college and do this. It wasn't until later on my senior year, and having a coach that I had in high school that kind of like inspired me and said, hey man, you need to come out here and do this. This is what I did. Because my high school coach was Harvey McSwain, and he was an Olympic trials participant and all that stuff. So I think he ran at Western for like a year and then ended up going to NC State. So there's another Raleigh connection. But he kind of, inspired me from the beginning, like, hey, if you really, really dedicate yourself to this, you can really, make this happen. But football was always in my mind, like what I was going to do. I played on a high school team with guys that went into the league. And so I know that if I would have been as persistent as I am in this sport with the other sport, I would have been in the NFL. Like I know without a doubt that was my dream. So it was never my dream until honestly 2010, 2011 to be an Olympian. But it was always my dream, even from elementary school. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the NFL. That was always my dream. So yeah, I think going into high school, maybe first or second year of college, and then graduating in 2009 and staying with my coach and deciding, hey, let's really buckle down and try to make this thing happen. That's when it became a dream for, the Olympics.
All right, I'm gonna just go a little bit off tangent right now, and it really have to do with the Super Bowl. And basically, you could tell us if you had a favorite going in. But when you look on Tom Brady over the years and his achievement, speaking from that standpoint, how would you put his career performance over the years, being able to do what he do thus far to this day?
Yeah, so I've had the pleasure of and the honor of being able to be in the same room as Tom many times. I wouldn't say he's a good friend or a best friend, or I can call him right now because I can't do that. But if I was to reach out to him, he would reply. Um, and we've worked on a few projects together and things like that. So he's a cool guy. But what I do know about him And it's something that, you know, I've taken seriously too. I'm 33. Now this dude's 40 something and still playing like he's in his 20s. And the
Yeah.
reason why he's able to do that is because he takes care of his body. Um, you only have one body. We all know that, but it's just like you can't go and take a Ferrari and put unleaded fuel in it. It's not gonna service itself properly to do what it's capable of doing. It's not gonna perform at the level that it's supposed to perform at. So same thing with your body, regardless of whatever sport you're in, you have to take care of that body, and that body will take care of you eventually if you're tuning up right, if you're doing everything the right way. Just like a car, you have to get the oil changes every so 1,000 miles. Well, your body's the same way. You got to go in and get the massage. You got to go in and get adjusted. You got to get the sleep. You got to eat right, all that stuff. So I think that's testament to, you know, his dedication off the field. I think what a lot of people don't realize is in order to be successful, especially with social media, all you see is the end result. They don't see all the process and all the hard work and dedication that it goes into doing what people like us do on a daily basis. They only see the finished product. They only see the Olympic final. They only see, you know, at the race. They don't come to the practices. They don't see you over there bent over after running 300 repeats with minimal rest. So I think, you know, if people were able to have access to what it looks like off the field, we'd see a lot more successful people in a lot of different areas.
Great. And you basically hit the nail on the head. Those are the things I was really looking for, you know, in terms of his determination about taking care of the body, which is very important in whatever you do. You know, health is wealth. That is how I accumulate it, you know, and
Right.
that is very good that you could summarize it in that sense. Next thing I want to ask you, because I've seen you said you kept your coach from college up to this point. Would you just give us one of the best advice your coach would have given to you that would have had you going up to this point yourself?
Yeah, just to always be the best version of you. It's okay to look up to people or to be motivated and inspired by people, but in your best interest, it's so easy to be yourself. It's so hard to be someone else. It's so easy to be yourself. So if I wanted to run, let's just pull let's just pull LaShawn Merritt out. When I first got into track and field, I idolized him because at the time he was one of the best runners. So I was like, ooh, I want to run just like that. But what I realized was we had different strengths and we have different weaknesses. So, and that's with anybody in any sport or anything that you do. Everyone's not the same. Even twins are different. So what I had to do was realize that, okay, here's what I'm good at. Here's what I'm not as good at. Let me go back and fix what I'm not as good at to be just as good or a little bit better than what I am good at already. And then I'll be able to proceed and go on and do all the things that I want to do. So I kind of look at it, and my coach has always said, just being authentic to you, just being the best version of yourself. It's okay to look up to people and to want to aspire to be like someone. But at the end of the day, my name is Manteo Mitchell. It's not LaShawn Merritt. It's not Michael Norman. It's not Michael Johnson. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I have to do what's best for me. And I think a lot of people struggle with that identity, being able to be authentic to themselves. And I think that's where the mental struggle comes in as well. So I think that's kind of how we kind of go about things.
Man, I kind of love that statement there. It's so easy to be yourself, but it's so hard to be somebody else. And with that, I just want to bring in the question here from Sir Payne. You could answer this and then we'll turn it right back over to Ian. So
Wow.
I'm not.
Okay. So he said, so I guess everybody can see that, right? They can see that.
Yeah, they
Yes,
should.
Okay.
yeah.
So I won't repeat it then. Yeah. Pain. It's different. It's very different. Bobsled is a very blue collar sport. And I say that to say, like, whereas NASCAR, where you have a pit crew and a tech crew and people basically doing everything for you and you just driving the car, which not taking away from the driving because that's definitely important as well, but and it's a skill. But we do all the work on the sled. We change the shims, we sand the runners for hours and hours and hours. on your feet before you got to go race the next day. But in some of the similarities, obviously, in the 4-man sled, I do 4-man and 2-man. In the 4-man, it's basically like a 4x4. You get amped up, and I'm the last guy. I'm the brakeman, so I'm the last guy in. Pilot gets in, 2-man gets in, 3-man gets in, and I'm just hauling it. I'm just pushing it down the ice as fast as I can, and then I jump in, and then I pull the brakes at the end. But it's that same enthusiasm, that same acclamation to like a team sport, the team atmosphere. 4 guys trying to do one thing, accomplish one thing, and get on a podium. It's the same vibe as being at the World Championships or Olympic Games or World Relays, something like that with the 4x4. Another difference is that it's not government funded, so a lot of this stuff is self-funded. We have 2 training centers. The main training center is in Lake Placid, New York, so I go back and forth to New York a lot. But it's a blue collar sport that is really, really different but fun. It's dangerous but fun. But it's something that I got in because I want to make history. I want to be. I think if I was to go and medal at the 22 games in Beijing, I would be the 6th person in history to ever do it, but the first African American male. So I'm trying to make history, and I know that with the right team and with my expertise coming into the sport, I think I can make that happen with the right people.
Thank you, man. And for those who didn't hear the question, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, it was basically a question by another Olympian who asked Manteo to tell the difference, how it feels to be on the bobsled team versus being on the USA athletic or track team. So as you can see, Manteo is both Olympian on the track and field team, and he's on the bobsled team. So he's on the ice and he's on the hot track. All right.
Yeah, they totally different too.
Yeah. Well, we know how the bobsledding go. I know you see a couple of the Jamaicans,
Yeah.
training on the ice, and it's always a funny story because it's a sunny country. The temperature doesn't get below 80 degrees.
Right.
So we pretty much a lot of people. Well, we got similar sport. I mean, as you guys might see on previous movies, but I'm telling you from live experience that we do. We make carts and run it down hills, and we push it and we run and jump on the cart. So, I think the whole idea of we actually trying the sport was from the push cart. We have a push cart.
Yeah, push
derby.
carts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I literally use the push cart. I mean, we use that as a mean of transportation. To some people use it to carry food. Some people use it to carry water. Some people use it to sell things. Sky like pops and ice cream and all that stuff. And so it's amazing. But just over the years, with many Jamaicans actually traveled to the US and do some training. It seems funny. I mean, people might believe that the people train in Jamaica, but they don't actually know that they actually go in camps. They go in Germany. They're all over training on the ice. But obviously, the speed play a big role. My question to that: how much does the speed of being an athlete in terms of to help you to be a better sledder? I mean, I know obviously pushing, but is there any special technique or just all power?
It's a happy mix between speed, power, explosiveness, and just agility, like being able to. Because if you think about it, the sled is 800 something, almost 900 pounds, something like that, and you're trying to generate that force from a standstill position, and the sled is in grooves for a little bit, and it's not in grooves all the way down the track, but from the start ramp, it's in grooves. So you're pushing off of a little center block, and it's how much force can you generate to get that sled going, propelling forward within that time frame. So it's definitely got something to do with speed. The speed factor is always going to be the top priority. but you want to make sure you have some power in there as well, because like I said, you're trying to propel a sled with one other person in 2-man or 3 other people in the 4-man sled. You're trying to propel that sled from a dead position forward
Yeah.
on ice, and the mechanics are very similar to driving out of the blocks. It's very similar to the drive phase, but you have to quote unquote hit the sled, like drop into the sled, which is kind of what almost like a jump start. It jump starts the sled, and then the power and explosiveness and the speed is
Hmm.
where that comes in. So yeah, it's a little art to it. It's actually a
Okay.
little art to it, and I'm still learning. Just being a brand new athlete in the sport. But there's a lot of expectations because they see an Olympic sprinter and they're like, oh man, yeah, he's gonna kill it, blah blah blah. And I'm doing well, but I'm still, like I said, I'm still learning. Because they see sprinter and Olympic sprinter, oh, he's an Olympic medalist, but man, I'm a 400 runner, not a 1-2 runner. So, but I'm pretty powerful for a 400 runner because I run a lot of threes and a lot of twos. So, it's growing on me. It's growing on me.
All right. So how different is the training? I know David talked about the much different in terms of track and field, but how do you train for? I know you the training part in terms of the practice, run and get on the thing and slide on the ice, but away from the ice, what's the training like? What do you do for training?
Well, for me personally, being that I'm training for Tokyo too, I do a little bit of hybrid training.
Okay.
So I have a bobsled, excuse me, I have a bobsled coach. His name is Dr. Brad DeWeese, out of Johnson City. And he's coached a lot of push athletes and brakemen before. So I use him for the bobsled component, just because of his expertise in sport and things like that. So for bobsled, what I've noticed is these guys are anywhere from 215 to 240 as far as weight. Obviously, I'm not running 400 meters around the track. I'm not going to make it back. So that's an adjustment. That's one difference, is you have to gain a little bit of weight to make the sled be a little bit heavier. But as far as training wise, it's pretty similar to, like, I haven't seen anybody go over 60 meters, which is very, very weird for me. So I'm like, wow, like I do 60s, like that's nothing. That's not enough. Like,
Okay.
but there's a lot of short distance plyometrics. It would be very similar to what a jumper would do.
Okay.
Honestly. And the weight room is just, they do a lot of weightlifting. They do a lot of weightlifting because, as part of testing, we have to lift 330 on a power clean and squat over 500. So that's how you max out the points for that or whatever
Yeah.
for Olympic qualifying. So obviously you have to be very, very strong. But again, it's a happy mix between being strong and just being an athlete. You just have to be athletic, honestly. Um, there's you would think that it's just running and jumping in a sled, but it's always like a science to it. There, you have to hit the angles, shin angles, all that stuff that you would hear in track and field. You hear it on the ice. So
Okay.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Okay. So how long you been actually training so far for the
Probably for bobsled, probably about two
yeah.
months.
Okay, okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. All right. All right. So my next question, obviously you're from the western part of North Carolina, where it snow more than anywhere else. And you growing up in a colder weather and just the snow and around the Blue Ridge Mountain. Did that have anything to do with you decided, or you think that's why you was recruited? I mean, how you got into this thing? I mean, how it was somebody reach out to you or you thought about it?
Oh, I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it. I thought about it after I was reached out by. I was contacted by the CEO of the sport for bobsled, who is a former USATF staff member. So we already had that connection. He was over national teams and stuff like that. And so he contacted me and said, "Hey, we're recruiting for bobsled. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Man, no." Like literally, I was like,
Yeah.
"No, no, sir. I'm not gonna do that. And then I thought about it, and this was on my birthday. I thought about that more, and I was like, you know what? This is very unique. I'm built for it. I think I could be okay at it. Let me at least try it out. And I went to a rookie camp, and I won the push championships with zero experience. So I was like, okay, well, let me get on the ice and see if I like it, and if I do, then I'll pursue it. But if not, then I have other goals that I'm trying to commit to. Will you guys be able to, understand that I have those goals first, and this is secondary, but they can both work hand in hand. And once we were able to solidify that plan, that's when I said, okay, I'll do it.
Okay. So so you training for the bobsled, and I know it's a private sport. I mean, from a financial standpoint, is it challenging, or are you getting some help to assist you in your preparation and training?
Um, it's not as bad for me, just because I've I've been around a professional realm of sports, and I know what that grind takes, and I have sponsors and stuff like that, and partners and brands and stuff like that that I can rely on. Um, Whereas other folks may not have that, but I'm trying to change that within the sport. I'm trying to make it more visible, more marketable, and not just by myself, but I definitely want to help the sport grow, um, just as we've done with track and field in the U.S., especially just being on the AAC and being able to make things better for athletes. Maybe not right now, but for the future, because that's what it's really all about. As long as people, you try to leave things better than you found it. In a way, that's how I've always been taught. So we may not reap the benefits as active athletes right now, but maybe our kids or our cousins or some people that look up to us right now that are interested into sport, that are looking to compete at the professional level, maybe they will be able to reap the benefits, and that'll be job well done. So that's what I'm trying to do with bobsled as well. I want to try to leave it better than I found it. So yeah.
All right, awesome, awesome. That's very important. I know that there are more sponsorship opportunity for athletes right now, and I know a lot of athletes are aware of it in terms of logos that athletes now can wear a logo on their uniform,
Yep.
representing a brand other than the shoe company. So as things go on, I mean, I hope that we'll see a lot more local sponsors, and more partnership, as
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
saying. But yeah, but that has changed, and that's going to go a long way for athlete marketability in terms
Yeah.
of able to provide more for themselves, and because we know that just from the shoe company, that alone can't take care of you. I mean, and if you sign one contract and you're exclusively to them, you can't do anything.
Right.
So
Right.
um, that's something that it's been changed for 2020, and so as track and field get more exposure, we'll see. All right, we're gonna come back a little bit to the track and field side. I know that's your bread and butter right there, but let's talk about Western Carolina. You're in college. Just tell us a little bit about how was your experience in college, just your transition, especially your first year, obviously just just tell me about your major. What did you major in? And just tell me what life was like your first year moving away from home on campus. How your transition was for you.
Yeah. So I went into school and I was going to be a music educator. So I went into music education. But I found out very, very quickly that the music program, as well as being an indoor and outdoor track athlete, which I didn't know what indoor track was until I got to college.
Mm.
Um, so doing all of that was a lot of extracurricular stuff, and I couldn't keep up with the books as far as being able to do all of the stuff that you had to do in the music program outside of the actual classroom, plus doing track and field. So I moved over to the sport management department, and I majored in I did a concentration in athletic administration. So I always wanted to be an athletic director at a Division I major school. And then once I got into like sport law classes and business of sport and all that stuff, that's when I was like, okay, cool. I think I want to be an agent. Like I would like to be on the business side of sport. So I kind of looked at that route. And then as far as like on the track, the transition for me was pretty easy for me going from high school to college because the guys I ran with in high school were on college level. And like I said, we had a coach that was very, very experienced in, the sport itself. So um, that transition wasn't as bad as I guess other people may have experienced. And I went from running 49 seconds in high school to just a few months later running 47:20 my freshman year. So I knew that the training and all the stuff that you had to buy into it. And so once I realized that, hey, I'm dropping times like this with just a few months of training, like, and my coach believes in me and all this stuff. So yeah, that the transition for me wasn't that difficult, honestly. The experience
Okay.
there was it's a lot different now there than it was when I was there. There's a lot more to do, but I think that was a testament to my teammates and I winning 5 out of 8 championships, conference championships, and just being very successful as a team because we kind of grounded ourselves and we all respected each other's grind, and we were like, that was our goal, is to win conference championships, and we were able to do that 5 times. So and that's still that grind, that same mindset has transferred over to even in the pros. You know what I'm saying? So like I go to meets, I'm like, man, I gotta do good. So I know they're watching, so I can't let them down. So yeah.
All right. Well, that was interesting. Everyone has a different story. When David was on the program, he shared with us that he was a walk-on in college. I mean,
Oh
from
wow.
from a walk-on to Olympic medalist, he wasn't on scholarship his first year at all. I
Right.
mean, and to see where, and he actually was running the 400 hurdles,
Yeah.
in college. It was after college that he really was able to start doing something, like '05, '06, and then '07 he just took off, '08, '09. But it's strange where, I mean, just always like to know that, so in terms of your college career, what would you say was the highlight of your college career that you would say, look, this is something that I'll put on my resume, just to say I accomplished that in college.
Um, I don't really keep up. Like I said, I don't really keep up with the stats. I'm always
Okay.
what can I do next guy.
Well,
But
did you go
I've
to
read
the
the presses. Yeah,
did you
yeah.
make
So I
it to the
went.
NCAA
I
championship?
yeah. I went to
Okay.
NCAA's 3 out of 4 years, basically
Okay.
every year but my freshman year. My freshman year, I made it to U.S. Junior Nationals. And at the time, it was in Indianapolis, and it was 2006, and that's when they held senior and juniors at the same time. So I literally remember, and this probably be the highlight. And I was outside of college, but I was representing the college my freshman year, the summer of my freshman year. I remember warming up for the 400, if I even warmed. I don't remember warming up. I just couldn't. I couldn't warm up because again, I was fresh in the sports. I was learning about everybody. I was in between Justin Gatlin, Marion Jones, Sean Crawford,
Mm.
all of these people. I'm trying to warm up for the 400, and I'm like, yo, I just saw them on YouTube last night, and here I am warming up beside them. Like, wow, like what in the world? Like, I don't remember warming up at all. I got 12th place. I didn't warm up at
Mm.
all. I was just watching them. I was just watching them because, and it was that moment I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go pro. I want to be like them.
All right.
And then you fast forward 6 years, and I'm roommates with the same dude that I didn't even know personally. I'm roommates with him at the Olympic Games, Justin Gatlin. We're good friends now. So it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
if you really apply yourself, and in that moment I was like, yeah, I want to do that. But now what do I need to do to get to that point? And then you fast forward 6 years later, and you're there. So yeah,
All right. All right. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, big shout out to Jay Gatt. I know he actually celebrated birthday last week. I've seen,
yeah.
out. So let's talk about, so you graduated in '09, and now you want to train for the 2012 Olympics. I mean, Just tell us how did you pull that off, knowing that you leaving college? I mean, we know again. I know the transition. Leaving college, no, you're not getting any support from the college.
Right.
Um, what did you do to sustain yourself and to be able to train for transition over into the professional level?
So I was awarded a graduate scholarship.
Okay.
So I actually enrolled before I even said I wanted to go, pursue the post-collegiate route. I enrolled in graduate school while I was there. So being able to be a grad assistant coach, I got paid for that. So I used that money to fund myself, to go to meets and to go to races. And being that I was on staff, I was able to travel with the team. So whenever they went to meets, I ran at the meets too. So I kind of use the system not to my advantage or to take advantage of an opportunity, but I used it legally to provide an opportunity for myself. Um, and I did that while getting a graduate degree. So it's kind of like a win-win for me. When I was in London, I was actually in graduate school.
Okay,
So
okay,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
All right. Well, yeah. Well, I'm glad that you didn't. I know people that live in the car and train.
yeah, yeah. I
After
know some
college.
too.
I hear a lot of stories about different things happen, how they get to where they get to. So
Right.
I am glad that you was able to to come up with a transition process. So let's tell us about when was your first big international race now since you got in pro? What was that like?
Um, World Indoors, 2012. Um, in Turkey. I believe it was in Turkey. Yeah,
Okay,
I was
okay,
on the
okay.
I was on the 4x4. Um, ran the third leg of the 4x4. We were in second or third place. Put us back in first. We ended up getting a medal. And that was my first international race. My first US team got a gold medal, and then came back that next week and ran 45 low at Auburn out of lane 7, qualified for USA's, went on to run 40 about 3 months
Man,
later and make the team. So yeah.
wow. So 2012. So before like 2010, 2011, you were just running local meets. I mean, you didn't have an agent or anything, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have an agent. Um I was just, I didn't know that side of the sport. I
Okay.
didn't know that, that was how that went down. Um Obviously, I didn't have big shoe deals coming after me because I wasn't running super fast. But I was looked at from USA development stuff back then. I think it was something, I can't remember the name of it, but it was where you had an A time and a B time, and they kind of supported you. Project 30 is what it was called. They
Okay.
kind of supported you. They kind of had you on the radar and stuff like that, but that never really went anywhere. Oh, sorry. I just had to take care of myself. You know what I'm saying? It was my coach and
Okay.
and we just grinded it out.
Yeah, okay, man. All right. Well, we're gonna have to talk about this 2012 Olympics because 2012 seemed like you could write a book about that here. I mean, with how things change from the indoor to the outdoor, you qualified, and for you qualified for the team, and then for winning the medal, and then to realize that you got another setback. You went to the biggest race of your life, and found out afterwards that you actually was running with a broken leg. I mean, I know that got to be you know, how did that make you feel overall from a standpoint? I mean, was it a positive thing, or in terms of or in terms of you running, knowing that you was in pain and thinking about your career? How did you deal with that part of it? Everybody look at it, we see you as a hero, but just from your standpoint, how did you how could you assess that situation for us?
For me personally, it was never about me. I knew that, I had USA across my chest. So first and foremost, I knew the history of the relay. I knew we'd never lost that race in that setting. So I wasn't trying to be a part of that bad history. I knew that me being the first runner, it was my duty to get that baton back, no matter what, how fast or how slow. As long as I got it back to those guys, they were going to do, their job to hopefully get us on to the final. And I kind of just let it like that. I was just saying to myself, I gotta get back to that finish line. I don't know what's going on right now, but I know something's not right with my leg or my foot. At the time, I thought it was just my foot. It was just so much pain. I just couldn't process the pain. I just had to just run. I was like, just finish, just stay focused, finish, just keep going, keep going, keep going, and don't stop. And luckily, I was able to get over there. I don't know.
Yeah, because I
It
mean,
was rough.
I see,
It was
yeah,
rough.
yeah, man, we're going to talk a little bit about more. Ian, let me ask him one more question in regarding the Olympic trials. Bring us back to the Olympic trials and just tell us how did you feel when you know that, I mean, obviously there's two spots. You want to make it in the individual, and then the next option is to make it on the relay. I
Right.
mean, even now, they have in another relay team that offering another opportunity to co-head relays. So you find that
Yeah.
maybe the eight people that probably made the final are going to be on the team now.
Right. Right.
When you look at it, but just back to 2012, when you crossed that finishing line and you saw that you have made the team, you're going to the Olympics. What come through your mind? What were you thinking about? What you feel like you have accomplished? Just bring us back to that day.
Um, well, I knew in the race we had a strategy in that final. I was in lane 3, and I knew that I had to get out. But once I heard the gun, I just got out and I stayed out. I didn't follow the plan. I didn't execute the plan like I was supposed to. Had I executed the plan like I was supposed to, I probably would have got second place. I think I would have gotten second place, because if you go back and look at that race, they never said my name on the in the commentating. But if you go back and you look at 300 meters, even to 320, I'm winning the race. I'm in front, and then LaShawn passes me, and then Tony passes me, and then when we get to the finish line, I'm thinking that I'm in third place. I just get out leaned by somebody on the outside lane, and then the guy in front of me who hits me, uh, which at this time now it probably would have been a DQ, and I would have been either third or fourth. But who knows? I'm just glad it happened the way it happened. But when I finished in fifth and I looked up, I really didn't even care about the place. It was more so the time. I ran the fastest time I'd ever ran in my life. I ran the second fastest time I'd ever ran in my life just 16 hours before that. And here I am, a dude from a small town who wasn't supposed to make it out of his doorstep by the age of 18, drug infested neighborhood, uh, not supposed to be on this stage because he wasn't the highly touted athlete in track and field in college like everybody else that was out there. But I made it. So in that moment, all the stuff that I endured, through high school, through college, it all was worth it. So I didn't really care about any of that stuff. I was just like, you know what? I made the team in some capacity. Now, what can I do to go home to bring a medal home? That's all I was, really thinking about.
All right, awesome. So I'm gonna hold that a little bit. I'm gonna come back to you with the Olympics too, about a little bit about your experience there in London too. Over to you, Ian.
All right, Monteo. As I listen, as you speak, especially right to the latter part there, you speak about your community and that you were expected to even make it out of your front door. So, what the question I want to ask you is, as a young man growing up in your teenage days, how were you able to stay out of trouble?
Youth sports, youth
Great.
sports, um, youth sports, after school programs. Um, like there were programs that were meant for, I guess, less fortunate type situations for kids that didn't maybe not have the best living situation. I was in those programs, even though I didn't have the worst living situation. I was put in those programs so that I would stay out of trouble. So I was involved in a lot of clubs in school, um, just extracurricular stuff. I was in the music program, so that was another extracurricular thing. So I was always just like busybody, always making sure I was doing something positive. And then I grew up in a church as well, so I was a musician in a church. So I was always doing something. I was 3 days out of the week I was in church. So that's 3 days I'm good, I'm safe. And then other days is football practice, basketball practice, track practice. So I didn't really have time to do anything else but my book work and sleep. That was it. So I credit youth sports and just sports in general and just being a student, student first, athlete second. I think that's a credit to, my environment and how I live now, being able to be successful.
All right, I'm gonna spin the question just a little. So could you tell us some of the challenges that you had to overcome to get where you are today?
Um, well, one of the main challenges that I think that I experienced was just growing up in a single parent home with just my mom, and my father wasn't present. Um, doesn't mean that he wasn't there, but he wasn't present. So I had to learn a lot of stuff on my own or through my grandfather. So being able to, that was kind of like you would say a downfall, but it was also something that built me up to be strong today, and to be the father that I am for my son today as well. So all the things that I wasn't taught, that I taught myself, that's where that grind came from. That's where the self-respect came from. That's where the confidence came from, which is often conflicted with being cocky. But if you're very confident in your abilities, you can do the unthinkable. And I think a lot of people overlook that, as being cocky or conceited. There's nothing wrong with being very confident in your abilities, and for what you want to achieve. So I think that was probably the biggest downfall for me growing up, but it also made me stronger in the process.
All right. Next question along that line. What family values are important to you? Since you mentioned family right there.
Oh, family is first and foremost. Everything that I do, like I know that my last name is attached to more than just me. It holds a lot of weight. So when you see press articles and things like that, here's usually how it reads for me: Olympic medalist, comma, WCU graduate, comma, North Carolina native, comma, then it's my name. There may be some other accolades or something like that, but it's all of that, then it's my name. And so I know that name carries a lot of weight. So for me personally, it is my duty to uphold the standard that my family set for me, to be that light for them. So my family means everything to me. As many times as I can, I try to come home, or go home and be with my family. I know it's very difficult right now with doing two sports at the same time, but as much time as I can spend with them, I try to do that because that's kind of like my reset. That's my reset button. Anytime that I'm feeling down or anything like that, I can be with my family, and it's like all that stuff is gone now. So um, that's definitely, my, like I said, it ground me, but it keeps me going.
All right. I know earlier you said your coach believes in you, but I realize that you believe in coaching. And why I said that is that you have a personal coach basically for your athletics. And here you are just going over into bobsled, which is new. And you're telling us that you also seek out a personal trainer. So could you tell us how important it is to have a personal trainer working along with you within your sports?
Yeah, I'm the type of person that I'm a student of the sport. So obviously in track and field, if there's something that I need, there's a tons of coaches that I can reach out to, and I can say, hey, I'm looking to, improve upon XYZ. I know that you're experienced in XYZ. Would you be willing and able to maybe exchange some information for me or help me to develop my talent more? And I'll do something in exchange for that. So that's how sport needs to be. there needs to be the relationship. There's a lot of secrets in all of these sports. But at the end of the day, there shouldn't be anything wrong with sharing information because, again, at the end of the day, that person that you're sharing the information may not work as hard as you. So when kids ask me, hey, what'd you eat today? I'll tell you exactly what I ate today. But do you know what time I ate it? Do you know how much of it I ate? What did you do for your workout today, Manteo? I can tell you exactly what I did for my workout today. But if my numbers are matching up with your numbers, if we're not in the same environment as far as talent, it's not going to work for you. So again, going back to that authenticity to yourself, it's so easy to be you. It's hard to be someone else. So just taking those things and being able to have people that you can rely on. So like you said, I have a coach in track and field. I have a coach in bobsled, and I'm a sponge when it comes to anything. Like I just soak up as much knowledge as I can, and it doesn't mean that I'm stealing from someone or taking from someone, because eventually, if it's something that I feel like is going to help me, I'll take it and make it my own, and I'll mold it into what works for me, and then we try to be successful in it. So yeah.
All right. Now I'm gonna go back to a question that Ian asked you earlier, and that had to do with 2012. Your injury. You run on a broken leg, and if I'm not wrong, it would have been your fibula, right?
Correct.
All right. So what I work as a nurse. So what I want the audience to know is that your fibula really, it runs from your knee down to your ankle, the outer part of your ankle, and it actually helps to support that lower leg along with those muscles and everything in it. And it can be very, very painful just to even have a chip on that bone. But to know that you're in a race, you're running, and this main support to the lower leg got broken in whatever way, if it's a fine line fracture or whatever, it's broken. And you were able to finish that race knowing that you have a teammate that is waiting on that button, knowing that you have the entire world looking out for the USA. As you said, it's a race that they have never lost before, so that is a big thing in itself. But you were able to find the courage within to work in terms of getting that button down to that next athlete. Could you really just walk us through that moment, the pain, and just looking out there? Because I know in your head, it must have come to you, man. Should I stop? Am I gonna hurt it? I want to know what was going through your head before you hand over that baton. Would you just
Oh
take us
yeah.
to that?
You wouldn't think that, I've told this story a million times. So you wouldn't think that you have enough time to think about anything in that race or any race in general. But when your mental game is as strong as mine was and still is at this point, like you can have all the training in the world on your body, but if you're not trained here, none of that stuff matters. None of that stuff matters. So I was mentally prepared for the worst. And it just so happened to happen to me, of all people. But like I said, I channeled that energy, the negative vibe that I had at that moment. And without question, like I really wanted to stop at one point. But at the end of the day, I did want to stop, but I wanted to finish more than I wanted to stop. And that's the most important part. I hate losing more than I love winning. And when you have that mindset, when you have that environment set up, like you'll do whatever you need to do to get to that finish line like I did. And I can't sit here and say that my teammates or anybody that is in the sport would do the same thing for anyone else. But I don't care about that. I care about what I can control. And I know that in any given situation, if it happened again, I'd do it the exact same way. Just because I knew what was on the line. I knew what was at stake. And, I probably hurt myself furthering injury by continuing to run. But I knew that as long as I got to that finish line, no matter how slow or how fast, it would help us get on to the next one. So yeah, I just did a sacrifice, and it just so happened to work out for me. Now that's not to say that anybody else should go out there and try it, because you don't want to do that, trust me. But I'm very grateful and blessed, and I'm thankful that God allowed me to get around the track, honestly. because there's no other way. Adrenaline, yes, but like I was running for so much more than myself. So yeah, that's kind of how that went down.
I don't know, man, but of all the races that you may have run before and after that, I think that will be the most standout race in all of our mind, or anyone who had watched and then hear the story after, what really happened. Because probably from
Yeah,
just watching, not everyone would have gotten what is going on, what happened, what was going through your mind, or all that. So I think that should be probably one of the most standout moment in your life and your athletic career.
for
You know,
sure.
okay. And you touched on a topic there just a while ago, mental preparation. And I know this is key in not just a track and field, but right across every single sports, every discipline, mental preparation. Because a lot of us physically we're ready, but mentally, simple mean something goes off. Just like that. You weren't prepared for anything like this. You no matter how much you have planned your race and everything, you would have not put that as part of it. That you're
Oh
gonna
no.
end up. All right. So could you just tell the audience, or just a young man who is choosing a career path, how important it is to be mentally ready for whatever you're doing, just mentally prepared.
Yeah, and like you said, that kind of goes, it's across the board, whether you're a student or an athlete or in any sport, in any endeavor that you're going after, you have to train your mind. You have to be mentally stable to be able to, for me, take your body through what I take it through. Um, at the end of the day, you can condition your body to be one of the greatest athletes in the world and be ready. But when if your mind isn't ready when you step to the line before that gun goes off, your race is already lost. So it's just as important to really physically train your mind as it is to train your body. And most times, all the sports you'll hear it's like 90% mental, 10% physical. That's really true because at the end of the day, like I said, you can be as physically trained, emotionally trained, all that athletically as you want, but if your mind isn't in the mindset of the capacity where, hey, I'm ready to do all the things that my body just went through for this one race or for this one game or for this one play, then it doesn't matter anymore. So I feel like it's very, very important to be able to have someone to talk to. That's where a coach comes in. That's where the mental strategist comes in. That's where the sports psychologist comes in. Um, don't be afraid to express yourself. Don't be afraid to reach out to people, and it all comes with having the right people in your environment as well, your support group. Um, if you're an athlete and you have an agent, maybe that agent is someone you can rely on to say, hey, I know today wasn't a good race for you, but tomorrow's going to be better. Tomorrow's going to be better. And just hearing stuff like that, that gets you mentally prepared for the next day. So it all comes full circle. You can have the access from a lot of different areas, but mental training is definitely important.
All right, with that, this question, I just want to ask you, where do you go for inspiration and relaxation at the same time? Because you know that they go hand in hand, after a stressful event, you know, it take us sometime to places where I know athletes have gone through even depression, where they never been able to bounce back. Just in regular life, people have gone through depression, just been hit by circumstances. Even right now with the COVID, the pandemic that we are going through, you cannot imagine the amount of people who have gone into deep depression and who may never recover from this.
Right.
So what I want to ask you is, in times of deep stress or just circumstances that unplanned, where do you go for inspiration and your relaxation at the same time?
My family, and I feel like it's very, very important for people to understand that yeah, we respect the grind and all the things that you do as an athlete. People uplift you and they follow you and they're inspired by you, but you have to remember to take time for yourself as well. Making sure you're taking care of your body, making sure that you're putting yourself in the right positions to set yourself up for success. and to stay away from failure, even though we know those things arise at times and it's the inevitable. Is you're not always going to win in anything or at everything. But if you put yourself in a position to be successful, you're more than likely to be successful than not. But for me, it's just going home. Going home, and again, like I said earlier, that reset. Another thing for me is music. That's part of my meditation. So I go to music. I rely heavily on music to get me through a lot of different situations. Because no one day is better than the other day. Sometimes I have really bad days. Just the other day, I had a terrible day. But then the following day, I had a day where I PR'd in some things. So it's because you're able to bounce back. You have to. It's okay to go into that environment, that mental state where you feel like you can't go on, or you feel like you're defeated, or you're depressed. It's okay. That's part of life. You actually need that sometimes. But it's the people that are successful are the ones who don't stay there for long. They learn how to get out of that process. They know that there's hurdles approaching, but they know how to get over them. And I think that's why I'm able to succeed, and the people that I talk to are able to succeed, because we talk about preparing for the worst but hoping for the best. And that way, when you go into any situation, you're like, okay, well, that happened, but I knew that it was possible that it could happen. So now next time I'm gonna go in and not make that happen. So that's kind of how I look at it.
And I really appreciate, your saying and teaching, that you have going on here. You're speaking from a standpoint where you've been there,
Oh
and
yeah.
I can hear it in you. You're a tough athlete, but at the same time, you are ready for any unplanned circumstances. So really, thank you for sharing with us. So Ian, back to you, man.
All right, man. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna move right back to the Olympics. But I want to ask you a question since we're on that topic about depression and and motivation and mental thing. And I kind of asked you this before, but I just want to get it again in. What I was asking you was, after that race in London, did you go through a state of depression, or you was just excited that he was able to bring the medal home and win a medal in terms of
Um,
injuring yourself?
yeah, for me it was a bittersweet moment, because obviously with the time difference being London and from back home, people would have never knew what happened until the next day. They
Oh,
just thought I ran slow. So once everybody really figured out what happened, I was literally put on a pedestal and a platform where I was literally I became an icon like overnight. It was really weird, and I wasn't prepared for that. So if I went into a state of depression, I'm sure that I did, but if I did, I wasn't there long, because I was forced into the other side of being this idol and being this inspirational figure and doing all these interviews and things like that. And I think that doing all that stuff and knowing that people were proud of you and or proud of me, and they looked up to me, and I started getting all these messages from all different walks of life, males, females, black, white, Asian, doesn't even matter, different creeds, different religions, but
okay.
it was all through sport that brought everybody together to say, hey man, like, you inspired me to keep going on this test that I was studying for, that I kept failing. But when I saw what you
Mm,
did for your team,
yeah.
I went back and I had that mindset and I passed it. So not even just athletes, but just all types of people. So if I was in a state of depression, I wasn't there long, because I was forced into this other realm of life that I never knew that I would ever be, a part of. So yeah, I'm grateful for. That's why I say it was bittersweet, because
Okay.
obviously, you still wanted to compete. You still wanted to, if your career was over, because at the time they were saying, yeah, you won't come back, blah blah blah. But I knew I was gonna come back, because I just know that's how I'm set up. But yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. It was kind of
Yeah,
like a
man.
bit of
Yep.
both.
Yep. Yep. That's perfect. Did you have to ever overcome any other injury in your career? Maybe not that critical, but just dealing with injury that just any other thing you've been through similar to that you could think of any at any point in your career?
That's been pretty much the most significant injury. It was just
Okay.
after the fact, dealing with the nagging injuries of, that being the Achilles or being near the Achilles, and just like the whole posterior chain, like the whole chain of effects. Like then your knee starts hurting, then you've been favoring that side for 16 weeks while it was broken. Now your right side is hurting, and then your hips are off, and then now your arms aren't swinging right because you've been favoring to one side, and then you lose weight. So it was just a chain of events. But more so than anything, it was just me mentally being prepared, trying to get back to at least where I was, or close. That was the hardest part. Just trying to, like, I remember I would go through practices and I would get to 200 meters in like a workout, and my body would just shut down. Like I couldn't finish the workout just because
Mm,
mentally that's where that trauma took place. So my mind went back to London every time I would get to that mark on a track in a workout or something like that. So that was the hardest thing for me to get through. And that actually took some years. That took some years,
okay.
honestly. It wasn't just like every day it would pop up. It would be like just randomly. Like I could be at a race and I'll be in the race, I'll be in the moment, everything's going well, and then boom, it's like flashback to London, and you just feel that. So that's why I had to talk to the therapist and
Okay.
really dial that stuff in.
Yeah. So did you ever get an opportunity to go back to London, um, back as an athlete or to
Oh
compete
yeah,
back in that stadium since
yeah,
then?
yeah, yeah. London's a hot spot for me. They love me over there. I like that place. Um, but yeah, I have a huge fan base, obviously, because that was a pivotal time, and they were proud to be hosting. And then of course I did something that was broadcast like every single day. So people they know your face, they know your name. They may not know how to say it, but they know your name.
Okay.
Um, and it was just a good vibe, and it always is. Every time I go back there, it's a special place for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like London for sure.
All right. So let's talk about the Olympic medal that you won in London. I know that medal got to be, I mean, special to you. Do you put it on display or you keep it in the safe?
Nah, it's not on display. I've won like through college and high school, and I've won a lot of rings, a lot of awards, and all that stuff. And I never really put that stuff up, um, because I'm always about like what's next. What can I do like next? What can I do to improve upon that? So, um, honestly, I mean, I got silver in 2012, but I came home to gold when my son was born in November of the same year. So, I mean, I kind of look at it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, I'm very appreciative and proud, um, of the medal, and the accomplishment that came with that. But for me, it's all about just trying to do what I can while I can, and seeing what I can do next. So, but yeah, it's in a safe place. It's in a safe little place.
All right. So knowing that 2012, as I said, now you're talking about your son. Just for you as a dad, and you're very passionate about the role that you're playing. For you, what would you say your proudest moment as a dad to date? That you could say about your son right now.
Um, it probably will be, when he started reading, because obviously, you have like little words here and there, but when he was 5 years old, he started like reading like in like from a book, and I wasn't expecting him to get all the words like right. I started tearing up because it was just like, you've seen them grow and become their own little person, and the attitudes and the crying and the temper tantrums and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden you have this one sweet moment where a kid is just like reading a book, and they're reading it word for word, and they look up at you, And like, did I do that right? I'm like, man, yeah, you did it right. You did it right. Like, it's just stuff like that that's more than medals. That's more than money. Like, you can't put a price on that kind of stuff. So
All right, awesome. So for you now, Manteo, Manio, sorry, that's training. What would it mean for you to make it to another Olympics and to have your son there to watch you now? Since he wasn't able to see you at the last Olympics, what would that mean to you now, and how much that inspire you?
yeah, he's the only reason I'm doing it because I was gonna retire last year. After Tokyo, my plan was to retire even before, and then I was like, okay, I got a little bit more time, and I was talking about it on a call with one of my mentors, and he heard me, and he came in there and he said, "No, Daddy, you can't quit." Like word for word, "No, Daddy, you can't quit. I want to go to Tokyo with you." And I was like, "Wow, okay, you heard that, so." I have no choice now. So I'm gonna grind it out. If I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't. But at least he'll know I tried and he'll
All
remember
right,
that. So yeah.
okay. Is there any chance that we might see him on the track one day?
Ah, I don't know, man. You know what? I support him in whatever he wants to do. He's playing soccer right now, and he
Yeah.
also plays basketball. And he's very, very good at both. So, we'll see. I mean, he said he wants to run, but I don't know if he's ready for all that. He's pretty fast though. He's pretty quick.
All right, awesome. Just one or two more question here for call it a day for that. So in your personal opinion, I know that you said you think that you could have get second at the Olympic trials if you have execute the race. What's the best race? What's the best race you believe you ran in your career so far, execution wise and results? If you could recall.
Um, like the stats don't show how fast I can actually go. And it's because I've always tried to not that I've always not ran my own race, but I've always been put in a position to where if I'm in the race, I kind of follow after someone else, and I've never really fully executed my race plan. And the one time that I did, I over executed it, and it shot me in the foot. So, but I ended up making the team though. So I really feel like if my cards are aligned properly, I can still go really, really fast. I really do believe that. And there's been signs of it when I've run 300s. There's been signs of it when I come back and run 200s. And even at 33, I was a late bloomer in the sport because I didn't start running until I was 16, I think, 16 or 17, one or two. But I kind of rely on that and know that, if I really just go after it and really go after the plan, that even though we have to make some adjustments to the body now because it's a little different, and the training is a little different. So I know that I'm able to go out and put something out there. But there's been signs. I wouldn't say in a race. I would say in training, there have been signs to where I could run 43 high or 44 flat or something like that, which would be pretty good. Um, so yeah, I think it's more so in training is where we've seen like the signs that hey, you still got it. You can still do it. You just got to go out there and do it. So,
All right. So, so just talk about the Olympics. Did you believe that as an athlete, just as a person, did you think you learned anything from the Olympics, the whole experience that you could use right now and continue to use to make you a better athlete?
um, I think the main thing I learned from the games was that everybody is trying to accomplish the same goal. And when you have that mindset and when you're around those kinds of people, it elevates your game. So I try to position myself to be around those types of people all the time, to raise my level of execution, to raise my game, to put myself in the mindset of, hey, this is where you've been, and this is where they are and where they've been, and this is where you want to go again. So make sure that you put yourself in that position. I think that's what I learned most about the games because I had international experience before then, but just being around all those different cultures and eating all those different types of foods and hearing all the different dialects and languages and seeing how people live out their life on a daily basis as opposed to how you live yours. I think that was just a blessing to be around that and to experience it. And then going fast forward the next 6 years, like going all over the countries and all over the world, being able to do the same thing with some of the same people. Um,
Yeah.
it was just really cool to be able to set yourself up for that.
All right. What would you say your best memory that you could remember? Just on the track in London, 2012. Excluding yourself.
Best memory, man, it was so many of them in London though.
All right. Well, just tell
Um,
me one. Tell me a Team USA memory, and just tell me another memory. I know you got to be, you know,
Team USA memory. Besides me being on the track while I ran the 4x4, that was exhilarating. But I would say the women's 4x1
okay,
was that was hype. But my overall moment though was the 800.
okay.
David Rudisha and that
Yeah,
800, that was insane. I was like, yo, what? And he's still going. He just kept,
yeah,
I was on my feet. I was like,
yeah.
wow, this is crazy. And I always liked the 400 or the 800, not to run it, but to watch it. But I became a fan of the 800 that night. Like that's one of
Okay,
my favorite. That's one of my favorite races to watch.
all right.
On the circuit is the 800 for sure.
Yeah. Well, I actually watched that Rhodesia race. I just was doing something and I popped up and I watched it in the Olympics, but I watched so many races, man. I just know he break the world record, but I literally watched the race again, and I mean, it was unbelievable. It was. I never seen someone sprint the 800 before. I mean, he literally was sprinting the
Yeah,
thing. I mean,
he was sprinting. He was definitely
all
sprinting.
right. So, in terms of your overall experience, any athletes or anybody that you meet that was special to you. I didn't know if you got a chance to meet Kobe or LeBron or
Yeah,
anybody
I met all
else.
of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I met all of them. The coolest thing was my mom and my aunt were there, and they ate lunch with the Fab Five. So like the gymnasts who won gold, Gabby and all those girls. That was pretty cool. They got to do that in the village. Um, but yeah, everybody that I met, it was just special because again, it's like all these athletes are at the top of their game. They're the best in their event or their sport, and here we are, like literally like bumping fists and just like all competing for our countries and stuff like that, our nation. And it was just cool just to even be there. But the fact that you were there and they were there at the same time doing the same thing, like it's pretty cool. So, but yeah, I met a lot of people in that span of about a month or something like that. So yeah.
Okay. All right. And my last question about the Olympics. I know this is probably before, but I know it got to be a good moment in the opening ceremony. Did you get a chance to take part in that? And
Oh
how was
yeah.
the energy? Okay.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
was
So
it?
it was my first game, so I had to do it. Um it was cool. We're United States is toward the end back there, so we were walking for quite some time. I didn't realize we were gonna be walking for hours in those polo shoes that weren't very comfortable. So um it was pretty fun, like being around everybody and taking the pictures and having conversations and getting to know people that you never, maybe you've seen on TV before, or you've kind of like said, oh man, it'd be cool to meet them, and now you're right beside them and you guys are walking in for your nation. So like it was cool to be able to experience that. Um and hopefully, I can be a part of one more.
All right. All right. I'm gonna save this question for last. Over to you, Ian. He's muted. You're muted, Ian. Oh,
Uh, sorry
sorry.
about that. Um, just want to touch a little bit now on the pandemic. This have affected the entire world. Uh, Not sure if Manu is gone. Are you hearing us, Manu?
I'm here. I think my video went out. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right, so what we wanted to touch on just a little is the pandemic. I said this have affected the entire world. So we know in some way, some shape or the other, it must have affected you in somehow, whether with regular life or with your training. But I just want to touch on the training. Have this affected your training in any way?
Yeah, just like everybody else, we were locked down here for a while. Didn't have access to the track, and I trained on a college campus, so I didn't have access to anything, the training room, any of that stuff. So you just had to make do what you could, training in the street in my neighborhood, finding a hill, um, even trained on side of the highway one time just because I knew it was flat. Um, Grass fields became my best friend. So you just have to when you are on a grind and when you have a goal that you're trying to accomplish, you're gonna do whatever you can to accomplish that goal. So we just no gyms or anything like that. So I had to go buy weight room equipment. So we just try to make it happen the best way we could, and it worked out. We're still in shape. We're still doing well. So yeah.
All right, thank you. And just talking to you just now, we realized that you seem to be one step ahead of the game all the time. You're like, you win a medal, you're just thinking, hey, how can I do better? It seems like you're one step ahead of the game. So I just quickly want to ask you, is there any plan in terms of giving back to the sports? So we know a lot of people, once you leave the sports, some people go into other career path, but some people choose to give back to the sports. So is there any plans for giving back?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like we already doing that in a sense, kind of behind the scenes type work. I don't really care to have like the flashy lifestyle or the acknowledgement for some of the things that I do. But definitely when I'm done here in a few years, I think we're gonna do some special things in the sport to give back for sure.
All right, quick one, right in the same line. What would you say you're most proud of today in terms of your own accomplishment? And it don't have to actually be the sports.
Um, my biggest accomplishment is just being the best father that I can be to my son. Whether he sees that as dad the athlete or dad that comes to school and eats lunch with him or dad that reads books with him at night or helps him with his homework. I think, being the example and leading by example are two different things. So me being able to have that relationship with him and to live this life with him and show him the rope a little bit in hopes that he'll be able to do the same thing when I'm not here with his family and his son. Um, so yeah, I think that's my biggest accomplishment.
Okay, so thank you very much. It's coming on to my last question right now. Basically, as you know, the platform we try to motivate, educate, and basically inspire someone. So should I put you in a classroom of a class with just athletes? What would be your message to them?
You are in control of your destiny. What are you going to do to get you from point A to point B? What are you going to do to get there? Most times kids say they want to do this, or even as adults we say we're going to do this, or we want to accomplish this, but you never really have a plan to get there. A lot of people nowadays, especially with COVID and stuff like that, they have plans, but they now don't have access to those plans. So I am the access. So I try to provide these kids with opportunities, with the tools that are necessary to be able to get to where they want to get to. I may not be able to put them in a car and get them there, but I can give them the directions. and they can get there themselves. So I think the most important thing that I would say right now is just you are in control of your destiny, but what are you going to do to get there?
Okay, great, great. Quick question. Are you a motivational speaker?
Oh yeah, oh
Okay,
yeah,
okay, okay. I didn't do any research or anything. I'm the guy who comes straight in and just have a evening chat. So,
oh
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. I definitely do a lot of that stuff.
all right. So, what if a student, athlete want to reach out to you? How would they basically find you, make connection?
Instagram, they can come on Instagram. A lot of them send me messages on there all the time. So they can Instagram me on there. My email is on there as well. So I tell kids all the time, like, don't be afraid to reach out. I think that's something that not a lot of pro athletes will give access to, but I'm always about sharing information because at the end of the day, it's how you perceive it as to what your destiny is going to be. So yeah, they can Instagram me at Manteo Mitchell. It's very simple.
Okay, very easy. All right. So, Manio, we just want to say on behalf of Ian and Ian, I personally want to say thanks to you for taking the time out to be here this afternoon. It's Valentine's Day. As I say, you could be anywhere else in the world. You could be doing a lot of things that we realize now with Zoom and all these different media. You could be across the globe at some point, you know. So
Right.
we really know that you could be anywhere tonight, but yet still you take the time out to come on here and spend a few hours with us, and we really appreciate it. And we know that, if even one person, I just say that, and I say to Ian each time, I say if only one person come on here and take away something positive from what we're doing here, I am pleased. I'm willing to
Oh
give
yeah.
my time for that because I'm willing to live my life to better somebody's life.
Oh yeah.
I'm willing to give of my effort just to help somebody else. So we just want to say thank you, and I'm just gonna turn you back over to Ian.
Oh yeah.
All
Thank you.
right. Just one or two more questions. So obviously, we want to know what next. What next? What you have coming up? So the fans and the followers could keep up and stay tuned. So what should we look out for in 2021?
Yeah, I got a few projects upcoming. Can't really go into detail about all of them, but most importantly is preparing for Tokyo, the Olympic trials, and see what happens there. I actually don't even have a goal of being in the top three. I just want to make the relay team. So I kind of look at it as that. But if I go and I get top three, we'll definitely take it. um, but then right after that, a few months later, doing the winter games as well. So short turnaround. I think regardless of making the team or not, I'll be in Tokyo, doing some things on the other side of the sport. So either way, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be there, which will be pretty cool either way. So, but yeah, just that and the winter games in Beijing in February, so a year out, a little less than a year out actually. And then just being dad, man, full time dad. That's it.
All right, all right. And this was something that I needed to ask you because it's really important. So after the Olympics, I know you're from a small town. How did you get welcome back home? After running the Olympics, what was that like?
Oh man, it's still they still on a high. You know what I'm saying? Parades and like awards and dinners and all that stuff, which is cool, and I definitely appreciate it. I would never take away from people expressing their love and appreciation for you, but for me, I'm just doing my job. You know what I'm saying? Like I appreciate the accolades and the credit and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just like this is what I'm supposed to do anyway. So that's how my book was written, and I'm just trying to keep writing pages.
All right. So with that said and done, I got these two questions from me. Just by talking to you, I'm just, still, interested about your story, and I want to follow you and keep up with you. So, when you retire from the sport, the track and field, and all the young athletes and everybody that you meet, how you'd want them to remember you? What you want them to remember you as? Or how?
They'll remember me as the guy who may not have been the fastest, may not have been the strongest physically, but mentally he was stronger than everybody else. And that's what propelled him to be successful, and that's what kept him being at the top of his game in not just sport but in life in general. They'll remember me as a guy who was selfless, and was all about the team and the community and the environment. And they'll remember me as the guy who walked the walk but also talked the talk.
All right. Guys, you hear that on the Real Talk with Ian and Ian? So we got it. If whatever time you come across this program, it might be next year, next week, whenever time. We have, Manteo will tell you. And the next question is, so after all of this stuff, I know one of the toughest thing in life is, it's not difficult, but it seems difficult for most of us, including myself, you know, just trying to find, your purpose for what your calling or what your divine destiny. So what do you believe your purpose will be moving forward?
To continue helping people. Um, I feel like that's what I was put here for. And I just feel like right now in sport, that is my calling. Like I help people through, my experiences, and like we talked about a little earlier with my story, that has propelled people to be, successful both on and off the track. So or whatever the field of play is. So I think that, or not that I think, I know that that's something that I'm going to continue to do. I know that that's part of my story, that's my destiny, and that's what I was put here for. So I'm just going to continue doing that, and just keep building upon that, build the empire.
All right. Well, we want to wish you all the best, man. We really believe that you are you know the way you talk and the way you explain yourself and the way that you make the presentation, you know obviously know that this is your calling and you could inspire a lot of people going around talking around, and we have no doubt that you will encourage a lot down the road. So we
Oh
thank you
yeah.
for we thank you for coming on here and encouraging me and everybody else that that's going to watch the program. We know a lot might not be watching now, but they'll be watching later. And we really appreciate it. I really enjoy it. I really like your energy. I really like your strong will and your determination. As an athlete and as a person, I really believe that it's that's the type of we need more people like you, just to to use their gift and their talent, and to use to inspire others, and to realize that that it's no fun just saying that, oh, I used to do this and do that, but you ain't never done anything to say that, oh man, I helped 10 kids, or one kid might say, oh man, I came across this guy that run in the Olympics, and he have broken his leg and it inspired someone. So I am so honored, man, and I feel so blessed for you be able to do this tonight, And I said,
Thank you.
just want to thank you again, and I wish you all the best in Tokyo. I'm gonna be in Tokyo, so regardless, we'll be there. uh, if you're on the track or off the track, you said you're gonna be there. So again, this pretty much that's all that I have to say. Any other final thoughts, Ian?
No, man, just want to say we're very thankful for the few hours that he has spent here on the program, and definitely we'll be following you. We will basically be watching you as you continue the journey, and as I can see, it's a good road ahead,
Oh
because
yeah.
you're a man, you're a man with a good heart and the willpower. And I really like the statement that you leave with us tonight. It's easy to be yourself, it's hard to be somebody else. So, and I hope everybody will catch that statement and look deep into the meaning, because for too long we have actually been trying to be somebody else. You want to be somebody else, and that's a hard truth to feel. So why not be the best version of us as you go through life? You know?
Right.
So thank you for that word tonight, man. You know?
I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you so much.
All
All right,
right.
stay safe, man.
I got one video that I'm gonna share, but it's gonna be the conclusion, the closing. uh, it's just gonna share it real quick and close the broadcast with it.
Accident, honestly. Every time I close my eyes, I see a vision of it, like a clip of it, every single time. So I try not to close my eyes except for when
I
I'm
can't
asleep.
stand that video, man.
Well, yeah, it's nothing really, Mark. It's
I know
one
you
of my
look like your
leg
younger
gave me,
self,
and it felt
man.
like Jello, honestly. And every step, the rest of the way, was just the most excruciating pain ever. It's still hard to believe to this point. I cannot believe I ran as fast as I did with a broken bone. It's still unreal. That was all the will of God. I had nothing to do with it. There was something that just came over me, and I was overwhelmed at the time. I didn't understand it. But finished, I understood that, it was all God that got me back to that finish line. It was my left leg. I broke my fibula bone. It's a complete break. I snapped it in half. I'll be hobbling around here in Cullowhee until I get healed up. Cullowhee, I love it here. Just being up here keeps me grounded. I walk on campus and I get the double take. It's like, is it him? When somebody calls out my name that does know me, it's like, this is my inspiration. I see it when I get in the blocks. I pull my shades down. The last thing I do is I say faith, focus, finish, and I look at it. I guess that's a superstition. Whatever you want to be in life, set attainable goals, work for those goals, stay focused, um, keep your head on your shoulders the right way. I wish everyone the best in all that they do. And go Cats.
Man.
Man.
Yeah.
Always inspiring, man.